All right, I am recording. So, bienvenidos. And today I will spell it right in my head. I can say hola clase, and then you can say hola senor, whatever you want to call me. Last year I decided my name was Borjas. And no one calls you that. First name. So it'd be like calling me like Mr. John or something, but except that it's just like a really threatening sounding name in my opinion. Borjas. No, it sounds like an evil laugh.
No one called you that last year.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway. Yeah. They did, yeah. Braden is Pablo. So you two will have to fight for the rights of being the best Pablo. It doesn't matter because you're additional classes. So all right, let's take roll. Let's see. I guess none of you except for Dylan were, and oh yeah, you were too. So for other classes, I could just do the same question to keep things boring, but for you two anyway. Favorite beef dish? Yes. Favorite beef dish. Yeah. All right, and let's see if I can remember all of your Spanish names. Although I think I have them written down.
Wait, what are we doing?
Roll.
Oh.
All right.
It's all
You know, the best beef in the world is probably in like Argentina. Believe it or not.
Really?
Argentina. Yeah, they have South American cowboys called gauchos, and they're like masters of barbecue.
They like galaxies.
So all right,
How do you eat Philly cheesesteak? Does that count?
Yep, it does. It just has to have beef in it. Pablo. Roast beef. Aitana.
Yeah.
Gonzalez.
Turkey.
All right.
Turkey.
Jerky.
Bro, what are you talking
That's what somebody else said.
Yeah, it should drive you.
Leo. I actually almost forgot your name for a second. I don't have them written down. Pedro.
I don't know. Wow.
Lucia.
Burgers. Straight up burgers.
I just love burgers.
If there's like
The salmon.
Yeah,
starters. Jorge.
probably steak. Steak is hard to beat.
Do you guys know what steak is in Spanish?
Steak.
El bistec.
I was it.
B-I-S-T-E-C. Bistec.
Oh.
Yes, that could be a good like extra credit question for next time. Bistec. This gives me an opportunity to what bistec. B-I-S-T-E-C. Bistec. All right, so I have a vocab pop quiz for you. Or I should say, sorpresa. Yeah. I'll take your checklist to Leo.
Oh yeah.
He has resumed his
No! I'm just doing that.
It's like it was a whole summer of hangs up.
I forgot. So, homework stuff for every week is a checklist.
It's a checklist, yeah. Now, I do reserve the right to spot check your exercises for additional homework grade. But I'm not in the habit of doing those very often. So, and then the threat of pop quizzes for the vocab keeps you accountable with those as well. So I'll pass out two things. Here's the pop quiz. And I'll also pass out this week's checklist, which I haven't been, which again, I won't always necessarily, but the atrophy of the school year hasn't set in, so I'm always considered.
Thank you.
And while these pop quizzes may be, scary because they're quizzes, one thing that's nice about them is they give you more homework grades. So if you ever forget your checklist and get a 0 on it, then this will help make it not count as much. That is good in these quizzes. When you're done, you can just pass it to Leo, but quietly. Now you can put it on the table outside. That'll be better. Too much temptation. You're already done, dang. Right there. These quizzes are nice because they give me time to write things on the board. please. See, we need more time. All right, give it just a little more. We're talking. Still have quizzes out. Probably all gonna fall down the sample. I think everyone's done, right? So we will have a lot of these pop quizzes, and they only count the same as like one checklist. So you got what, 14 checklists per semester, and then probably, I don't know, we might end up having around like 10 pop quizzes. So that's like 24 grades or something. So even if you got like a 0 on something, you got a lot of opportunity to redeem it. Plus, there's Duolingo extra credit that accumulates by the end of the semester. So things I'm going to be giving extra credit for with Duolingo, I can't remember them all. I made a list at some point, but your overall experience can result in Duolingo extra credit. So can your number of crowns. I think with the crowns, it's like you have to be like at the top of the class there, like whoever gets the most crowns. Certain achievements like how long your streak is. If you get different numbers of stars for that achievement, then you can get extra credit for that. So if you manage to every single day, or at least any day that you're not going to, buy one of those, like whatever it's called, the amulet or whatnot, that allows you to miss a day. Just make sure you do that so your streak remains unbroken, and then with a long enough streak, you get extra credit. That's it, yeah, the streak freeze. There's streak freezes and weekend amulets. It was annoying. I think I had like somewhere around like 80, 90 days, and then I lost it, and then I just gave up. So anyway, and it was just because I forgot to buy like a streak freeze that day. Anyway, this would have been a better thing to do yesterday, or last week, except that we just didn't have enough time with going over the syllabus and everything. But just a quick review of the Spanish alphabet so that we can be pronouncing things correctly. Say the names of all these letters after me. A, B, C, Ch, D, E, F, K, H, I, J, K, L, A, or if you're from some places, AJ, because they kind of make it a J sound. N, you guys tell me this one. Very good. N, O, P, Q, R, Good. Yeah, I heard someone do it. Who had the good roll? Can you do it? Do it again? Yeah, nice. Yeah, basically just speak Wookiee, just kind of if you moan when you're doing it, you're a Wookiee. Let's say J, U, B,
Be.
But because be is also be, you can call this one be corta, C-O-R-T, corta, be corta. Alternate names for this one, doble be, which is double B, which I think is a better name, or you can call it doble U, which would be double U. X, Y. That's interesting because what that literally is Greek I, which is funny because like, you know, they call Spanish speaking, you know, Western Hemisphere, like South America area, Latin America. And you know, Spanish has a lot of inspiration from the Latin language, and the Latin language didn't have a letter Y until they borrowed it from Greek. So that's kind of probably why this is called Y, which means Greek I. And then finally, finalmente, ceja. Yep. And it doesn't make a Z sound, it's a S sound, just like S. There's no real purpose for having both. So ceja. All right, so vowel sounds. What sound does this make? And this one can sort of have two sounds. It could be like an F or an A. E. Oh. Good. So they only have one sound generally, except for the E can have a little bit of variance. All right. Interesting things about some of these letters. What happens to the G sound if you put it in front of an I or an E? So normally it's a good. I had this like really dramatic, like I had a really good, they had a good Spanish program in TCC when I did that. I took Spanish 1, 2, and 3 there. And they, but they would have you go to this language lab where they actually had like tapes and cassette players in the desks. I wonder what they have now. But I'm not that old. It was just kind of outdated then. But they would have this pronunciation unit always like in your lessons where they would like have you focus on a particular sound. And every time there's a lesson title, they had this really dramatic like Spanish speaking announcer. And then they had like an English speaking announcer, they would switch off. But he goes like, pronunciación, el sonido, good. The sound, good. But anyway, so yeah, it's either like a hard G like guerra, which would be war, G-U-E-R-R-A, or if you put like an I or an E after it, like general, that would be G-E-N-E-R-A-L, like general. It's an H sound, like English H. Or if you put an I after it, like gigante, which is giant, then it's going to be an H sound as well. One way to think about it, if this isn't too confusing, the Spanish J is an H sound, jota. So Juan, J-U-A-N. And so in English, you put an I or an E next to a G and it makes a J sound, like our English J. And in Spanish, you do the same thing and it becomes like a Spanish J. So that's what we remember. Same thing with, so there's G and C, both have like a soft sound if it's followed by E or I. So you can have like calor, which is like hot, C-A-L-O-R, or another form of that would be like caliente, that's more like spicy. But then you can also have followed by an E or an I like cielo, which is sky or heaven. All right, double L. One more time, what does that do? That's a yes sound. So llama in Spanish is llama. And then actually, I was looking up at one point like Spanish children's books to see if any of them like on YouTube would be good for you guys to listen to last year. You know, Mama Red Pajama or something like that. Llama, that's it. Llama Red Pajama. Well, that's it's about a llama, but in Spanish it's llama, and it says that the llama calls its mama, and so it's like la llama llama a su mama. So it's like the llama calls is llama, because they both mean like it's the same word, but it can mean llama or call. So it's kind of funny. All right, ere and then erre. Remember that this is like you're basically letting your tongue flap in the wind of the air you're pushing out. Erre. And in the case of like the R and the L are not very different. Your tongue is coming near or to the roof of your mouth for both of them. And we say with our tongue kind of sticking up in that direction, but we're really using it in the back of our mouth. But then if you kind of go and stick your tongue forward, it becomes like a, you know, if you're pushing the air. So I had the other class do this a minute ago, but take the name Laura. That's a good example of how L and R are similar. Laura. You hear that? But it's almost like a D. Laura. So D, L, and R, believe it or not, are actually really similar. It's just in English, we pull our tongue way back when we make the R sound, and in other languages we don't. Some languages, they even have like the same character for L or R, like in Korean. And so then when things get translated to English, you get stuff like signs that say flesh drink and instead of fresh drink and stuff like that. All right. And then I pointed out Zeta instead of Zeta. And if you have a Mexican word like Mexico, what does the X sometimes do? Yeah, it's like an H. But most of the time, yeah, there's a lot of it because you got the Ota. And of course, the letter H, H, how does that sound in Spanish?
It's just like silent.
It's silent, yeah, it's just like, what's the point? And so even in its own name, Ache, H-A-C-H-E, you don't hear it. But normally this is like an X sound, like in English. Like exam, E-X-A-M-E-N. But if it's like a Mexican word, then it might be an H sound. Maybe in other situations, but I'm only really aware of Mexican words. All right, and finally, I want to review real quick the syllable rule, because this is something that, like, if you don't really get it at the very beginning of last year, then like it might have been perplexing to you all throughout the semester. All right, so if I say, I already did this word, calor, like hace calor, it is hot. How many syllables do I have? What is a syllable, first of all? Syllable is like a beat in the word. Calor. All right. So 2 syllables. Calor. Which one gets the accent? In other words, which one am I stressing or saying the loudest? Ca or lor? So I say calor.
I think it's
Yeah, it's the Lord. So, Lord. It doesn't have an accent actually written over the word because it's following a normal rule, which is that if any Spanish word ends in a consonant that's not N or S, then you accent the last syllable. And you might remember that. This is a good thing to point out right now because we're going to do a whole bunch of verbs. So, like, for example, if I say hablar, also ends with an R. And so that's a consonant other than N or S. So, it's going to be an accent on that last syllable. But if I say almost the same word and I say hablo, what's getting the accent, the ab or the lo? Exactly. Because if it ends in a vowel or an N or an S, then it's going to get accented on the second to last syllable. I'll take another word I just put up there, cielo. Is it C? E or lo that gets the accent? Cielo. Yeah, it's the A. So does this end in a vowel or consonant? Vowel. So that means the second to last syllable gets the accent. Cielo. All right, see that? What about N or S? They get treated like vowels for this rule. So
N or S?
Yeah, N or S. So if I say, well, here's an easy example. I don't know why I'm doing this one exactly. I guess it's more L, R, and D practice because they're all kind of similar. Dolor. Say that. Dolor. Remember what that means if you remember? Yeah, dolor. Yeah, but that's good. It's almost the same word. So that's going to be pain. So where's the accent? Do or lor? Yep, dolor. But if I say dolores, it stays on that one, but it's only because it's the second to last syllable. If I have a word ending in an S or an N, and so this would be like all plurals. It actually works really well because then it kind of sounds more natural. But anything ending in an S, well, I guess it's going to be the second to last syllable. What's one that ends? What's a multi-syllable word ending in an N in Spanish? Because every time I try to think of one, it's one that's like canción or something where they have an accent and actually put it on the last syllable. I did one a moment ago. Examen. examen. So there, exam. So that's an exam. I don't know if you put that.
Wait, so you said N or S don't put the accent.
Yeah. So if it's N or S at the end, then it's the second to last syllable. N, S, or a vowel. So this one would not be examen. It's going to be exam. And they're actually, is there an accent there? There doesn't need to be, so maybe I did that wrong. Which one? Oh yeah, bien. Very good. And bien is a good example because you accent the last one, but they put an accent there. So like they'll put an accent mark anytime it breaks the rule. So the real word here, dolores, and it follows the rule, so there's no accent. Examen, and I put an accent there, but I don't think that needs because this actually follows the rule. So examen follows the rule. You accent second to last. Bien doesn't follow the rule, so you put the accent where you actually need to say it. Or another example, cafe. It should be cafe because that's a vowel. So the second to last syllable would get it. But because we're pronouncing it differently on purpose, cafe, you put an accent. All right. So hopefully, just if that didn't all make sense, it's in the preface of the book. So it's a really good thing to be able to improve your reading skills so that you can hear it correctly in your head. All right, so let's take this week's vocabulary and pronounce the words, which normally we won't do, but I want to, since we're just starting out after a long break, it's not a bad thing. So, but we can also use these to make some sentences in a moment. So it's good to go over them. So all of these end in what syllable, or end in what letter?
R.
Good, they all end in R. And so that's a consonant, right? And it's not N or S. So where will the accent be in every single one of these words?
Second last.
Not the second to last, because that would be a vowel or an N or S ending. Nope. Well, sometimes, but only by coincidence. If it's in a consonant and it's not an N or an S, then it's the last syllable. So, all right, so let's pronounce, I'll say the English and you say the Spanish, all right? And then I'll repeat you so you can kind of check yourself. To walk. Very good. Caminar. All right. To buy. Comprar. Yep. To arrive. Good. Llegar. Or if you're from some places, llegar. Yeah. To carry. Llevar. Good. And that V is like a V, so llevar. Or to wear. So actually you can, if you say like, llevo una camiseta, that's like I wear a t-shirt. You can say it in other ways. There's other ways to say I wear something or other, but you could just use llevo. To return. Good. And you don't have to, like, this isn't that big of a deal, I think, but when R starts a word, you roll it, even if it's not a double R. So regresar, which is a bit of a pain. To return. It's not that big of a deal, so don't stress it. Yeah, that's good. You'll find common Latin roots between English and Spanish, and so that's a lot of the reason why it's like you can stick an O on an English word and sometimes it works. Now, to touch or to play an instrument. Tocar, yeah. So if you want to say like I play guitar, that'd be toco la guitarra. Or to work. Trabajar, yep. To travel. Viajar. Yeah, remember the J. To learn. Very good. Aprender. To understand. Good. Make sure all of your O's are long. Comprender. And all right. Comprender. To eat. Very good. To run. Good. Correr. To should. To ought to. No. Should, ought to. Must. Or to deber. Good. To read. Leer. Yep. To put in. Meter. And to break. Good. Romper. To open. Abrir. Good. That's kind of a hard one to do. Those are so close. Abrir. But to share. Good. Compartir. I don't like doing R's to T's. To decide. Decidir. Decidir. Yeah. To discuss. Good. Discutir. Very good. To write.
Escribir.
Escribir. Great. To receive. Recibir. Good. To go up, to ascend. Subir. All right, two more. To suffer, that's easy to remember. Sufrir. And to live. Vivir. All right, so what do you notice about the endings of all of these verbs? Okay, so they're either IR, ER, or AR. Great. So that's what we're reviewing this week. We're doing chapter 5 in in review. And this chapter is, I think there's not really anything it covers except for the endings for these verbs. So this is a really good refresher to have at the beginning of the year. How do you handle verb endings? Here's a simple question. What is the difference other than spelling between if I say like yo hablo and tú hablas? Like what's changing between hablo and hablas?
Like
The way I'm using it in what way?
well, two is like you.
Yeah, so
Like
I speak, you speak. We all speak for it. Yeah, so what are two and I? Or sorry, what are yo and tú, or I and you? What are they?
First person and second person.
They are, and that is very true. Yes, they are first person and second person. But they are first person and second person what's?
Oh,
Yeah.
They're not quite nouns. They're pronouns. Good. They're personal pronouns. And how are they being used if you say I speak and you speak? Like, what is their role in the sentence other than being pronouns and other than being first and second person?
Friendly conversation.
Yeah, more specific. So grammatically, there's a job that, remember how certain nouns have certain jobs? A noun can be a direct object, like where it's receiving an action. A noun can be an indirect object, where it's the one you're doing an action for or to. It can be the object of a preposition. So what is the job of yo and tu? Very good. Subject. So you change the ending of your verb depending on who the subject is. In other words, who's doing the verb is a simple way to think of it. So if I say, let's see, what should we eat? Good. Goat. Yeah, there you go.
The purple goat.
La cabra deliciosa. I have eaten goat before. It was when my Jamaican Indian friend made curry.
Was it delicioso?
Yeah, it was good. It's a little bit like sheep, but maybe not quite as gamey as sheep. I can't really remember. And of course, I had a whole bunch of curry on it, so it was really good in general. So if I say, como la cabra deliciosa, who is eating the goat? I. Good. All right. Let's make it we eat the delicious goat. So we keep the stem, right?
Comamos.
Okay, so it's not going to be comamos because this is an ER verb, comer. So this actually makes a good point. In order to have the right ending, what do you need to know about the verb first? You got to know if it's an AR, ER, or IR verb. So that's why they always give you the infinitive. So what is the infinitive, by the way? It'll be like comer is the infinitive. Yeah, it's going to be the two plus the verb. So comer is to eat. It can also, in some situations, be translated as like eating, like comer es bueno. To eat is good, or like eating is good. Anyway, so yeah, we need we're looking at nosotros, but it's comer, so we need this list. Comemos. We eat the delicious goat. Comemos la cabra deliciosa. Everyone say that. That's a lot of syllables. That's good practice. Comemos la cabra deliciosa. Very good. All right. It's all coming back to everybody?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, comes la cabra. That'll be you eat the goat. Oh, comas. Well, it wouldn't be comas because it's an ER verb. So you gotta go to all your endings from there. But let's do an AR verb. Let's do an AR verb. What's an AR verb we could do to the goat? We can buy the goat. Very good. Yes.
That works.
So I can say like, yo compro la cabra deliciosa. It's like buying it in like Kentucky Fried Goat or something like that. But what if we had a goat restaurant, like a goat themed restaurant? And then, you know, if like cows are the mascots for Chick-fil-A because you're eating chicken instead of beef, what are you eating goat instead of? Maybe chicken? I don't know. Or their mascot beef. All right, so comprar, so we're using this list. So how would we say they buy the goat?
I.
Not English, because that would be we. Say it again. Very good, compran. Now notice my pronunciation changed. There's no longer, well, it actually, I've been doing this for a while, but comprar, but compra. What's the reason? Yeah, because you might be thinking, well, of course it's compro because that ends in a vowel or, you know, whatever. But if I say like, compres, you know, if it ends in S like compres, or compras, I'm sorry, I'm still thinking of it. Compras or compramos, those end in S's or even, you know, and so as a result, you're accenting the first syllable because it's vowels, S's, and N's that are the ones where you accent the second to last. And since these are only 2-syllable words, that'll be the first one. But also the N is included there. So if I say compran, it's the first syllable out of these two because that's the second to last syllable in this word. So anyway, that's good. Do we need any more like refreshers here before I throw you into some sentence creation?
Many.
All right. All right, so first of all, I just want to make sure, I've been kind of assuming that you all remember what the actual subject pronouns are, but I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with that. So I didn't write them all out even. I will go ahead and do that just to make sure we're all remembering. If we have, these are our subject pronouns. And they're personal pronouns. Some of them are first person, some are second person, some are third person. Remind me, what's the difference between first, second, and third person for a subject?
Like who's doing the verb?
Exactly. And so if it's a first person subject, then who is doing the verb?
You are you.
Yeah, and basically what it means is the speaker is doing the verb. So the first person is going to be like the speaker does the verb. Speaker is the subject. And so what are our two first person pronouns? Good, yo. And
Y nosotros.
very good. Yo y también nosotros. Good. All right. What does second person mean? Like who's actually doing the verb if it's second person?
The victim.
The victim. The listener, yeah. Depending on who's talking. If it's like a door-to-door encyclopedia salesman, then yes, the victim. Like you need to buy these encyclopedias. You need to listen to me for 3 hours. All right. So what are our second person pronouns? So we actually got tú and vosotros. Very good. Usted, and then what else? Those will be third, but we have, what's the plural of usted? Usted. Good. I'm going to be Southern because we don't really have a formal, you know, or I shouldn't say formal because you said it's formal, but we don't have like a proper, you know, English second person plural. So we're going to say y'all. And you guys are probably Southern enough that you already say that. So tú, vosotros. And so vosotros is the plural of two, but what's funny about vosotros? It's only used in Spain. That's right, it's only used in Spain, where they listen. And you call that Castilian Spanish, just for review. Now, and then we have the formal version, usted, so this would be like you, sir, or it's like a formal you, or madam. And then the plural is ustedes. Good. Great. And I guess I'll do y'all again, but that doesn't really ever sound formal. So I'll say formal. All right, so we got two first persons, two first people, and then we have four second persons because we got the formals and the informals. And then we have the third persons, which are, who's the subject of the third person? That would be one, yep. It's basically just someone else that's not the speaker or the listener. It's anyone else.
Three dots.
Yeah, because it could be like all kinds of things. It could be the goat. It could be and actually every single noun is third person basically. You know, think of it that way. If the subject is a noun, like the goat is delicious. Goat, you can replace with a third person pronoun. He is delicious, or you know, whatever. It is delicious. All right. So third person pronouns. For this one, it gets a little more complicated because you got some masculine and you have some feminine. And then you have just kind of like whatever. Okay, so I'll start with just like masculine and feminine ones you can differentiate. So if I'm saying first person singular or third person singular, masculine, what would that be? Good. Or and. And it's got an accent differentiated from the. And then the feminine is yeah. I'm not writing down that this is he and this is she, but you can write that down. And then if it's plural, ellos, which is them, and then ellas, which is them. All right, so let's say that there's a convention of, I don't know, nuns. I don't know why I thought of nuns. And so you're referring to the entire convention of nuns. And you say, they are, I don't know, nice nuns. They are nice. Would you say ellos or ellas? Good. So that'd be like, ellas son simpáticas. They are nice. But one monk walks in, and now there's like 100 nuns and one monk. How do you refer to the whole group? Ellos, yes. As soon as there's one masculine in the entire group, it's referred to as ellos. So that'd be ellos son simpáticos instead of simpáticas. All right. So we got ellos and ellas, and then that's really it. So there's four of these. And what's kind of confusing about ustedes in terms of like the person that it is, it gets treated with the same endings as the third persons, even though it's not a third person itself. So if you want to say he, she, or you formally eat, you would say come. So that's el, ello, usted. I forgot to put a ellipsis there. So if I say, come la llama deliciosa. Now we're eating llamas, which actually used to happen in Peru. Like ride your llama and then set camp, and it's the equivalent of eating your car, basically. No, I'm sure they would not do that unless they really had to, or whatever. Or it's just a bad llama.
Like in Star Wars,
Yeah.
whatever that thing.
The tauntaun. Did you know they actually have a tauntaun sleeping bag that you can buy?
Yeah.
It's like it's got this picture in the ad of like this little kid dressed up like with a like Skywalker pilot outfit, and he's sleeping inside the tauntaun. And it's got a smiley face, and the inside looks like intestines. Like it's got just a pattern of like, you know, intestine pattern. So yeah, look up tauntaun sleeping bag. And I think it was crazy expensive too, but like hundreds of dollars or something.
Yeah, worse is all that.
It would be, you know, somebody's that, you know, things like that. You can have fans who are willing to pay. All right, so if I say come la llama deliciosa, then
Who ate the delicious llama?
so yeah, I could say and actually, you know what? I can make this a sentence, and it's like, do you eat the delicious llama, or something like that. But I'm just going to make it a declarative statement. How about that? So if I say come, do I mean she eats the llama? the delicious llama, or do I mean he eats the delicious llama, or do I mean you, sir, or madam, eat the delicious
We
llama?
don't really know.
We don't know. So how do I fix that problem?
We add like.
Yeah. So I could say like, usted come la llama deliciosa. You, sir, or madam, eat the delicious llama. Or if I want to make it a question, I could say like, Senor. Actually, no, that's wrong. What did I do wrong? I think this is actually a really cool point in Spanish for punctuation. I did something wrong with the punctuation.
You capitalize the C and the comma.
Oh, you're right, that too. Okay, so I did two things wrong. What's wrong with the placement of this one?
Oh, it should be.
Yeah, so it's actually when you start the sentence part. So this is a clause, and this is a sentence. Like this is like it could be a sentence on its own basically, but this is where the question is. So I start the sentence without the question, and then I insert the beginning of the question before. So I really like that because you can actually make it clear when the sentence begins and ends, or when the question
I
begins
feel
and
like,
ends.
I feel like Senor would be like you're calling him, and then you ask the question.
Yeah, exactly. So, señor, come, and if you want to, come usted la llama delicioso? Sir, do you eat the delicious llama? Or I could say, you know, ella como, or sorry, come la llama deliciosa. She eats delicious llama. Or ella come la llama deliciosa. You know, no, I'm sorry, that wouldn't work because you're not. I'm treating it like second person. It's third person. I wasn't thinking. Okay. I could say instead of the comma there, I would make the question mark at the beginning. Ella come, excuse me, la llama deliciosa. Does she eat the delicious llama? Or I could even say, what's my third option? Él. Does he eat the delicious llama? And if I wanted to say they, what else do I have to change? Ellos come. Or I could say like, you, sirs, plural, ustedes comen la llama deliciosa. So that would be like, do you eat the delicious llama? What you can see is the ending doesn't change whether it's el, ella, or ustedes, and it doesn't change whether it's ellos, ellas, or, I'm sorry, el, ella, or usted are all going to be the same. And then ellos, ellas, and ustedes are all going to be the same ending. So everyone remember that, hopefully? Does that make sense? Yeah. Great. And so if I were writing these out fully, and maybe I should for just one of them, we have is el, ella, or usted. They're all going to have the same ending. And down here, ellos, ellas, or ustedes are all going to have the same ending. All right, ready to make some sentences?
Yes.
All right, feel free to ask me any nouns you don't know or look them up yourself. Yeah, you can do that right now. But don't rely on it. Like, find it for nouns and like individual words, but not for your whole sentences. So I would like you to come up with sentences, like one sentence that uses, and just depending on how much time we have, like start with an AR verb and say something like, you know,
An AR verb?
and yeah, an AR verb.
I use an IR verb.
Well, we'll start with the AR and then do ER and then do IR. But take the same sentence, like, for example,
Could it be an ER word?
we'll start with the AR, then do an ER, then do an IR. So you're gonna have three separate sentences, and they're all going to be a subject doing a verb, and preferably a subject doing a verb with a direct object. So, like for example, él come la llama. He eats the llama. So the direct object would be llama. It's receiving the action of eating. It's the one being eaten. So come up with three sentences like that, like, or I don't know, I eat the llama, or whatever. And whatever your sentence is, go ahead and change it to use all of these forms. Change the subject and have 6 different versions of it. So you have 6 different forms. And then when you've done the AR, move on to the ER, then to the IR. And if you want, you can do this with a partner, maybe as tables or something. I don't know. It's up to you. I'll give you a couple minutes. Well, actually, I'll give you like 5 minutes. Intermission music. You know what? I should probably do like a Spanish intermission music. And don't worry if you only get the AR verb, that's fine. Might be able to save you time if I happen to know the word. With con, C-O-N. Excuse me. I'll give you 2 more minutes, maybe 3. I'll give you till 2:02. And they'll spend 3 minutes sharing. I recommend using the AR, ER, and IR verbs from the vocabulary on your checklist because that'll save you time and help you learn words you're accountable for next week.
So we're supposed to make a sentence for like everything in the air, home, everything in the air,
Yeah.
home,
But you can take one sentence and just change the subject 6 times. So. Two more minutes, maybe a little less. Hey, there's my shiny bald head. No, I just shave it every now and then. Not even that often. Like I think I haven't shaved it in 2 days. My head.
Is it like, would I would say like to break, would I just say
Yeah, romper. Yeah, but I would like you to have a subject for each one. So if you have romper, there's not really a subject for it.
Or what if I'm using it as just like I've already had it.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, you can do that. So like but you would stick it right after your other verb, probably. If you had to give me your whole sentence, then I'll just make sure that was good advice because it might not have been.
Mine is,
Yours.
Okay. And this one has a weird thing grammatically. It has camina, and I say to the bathroom will be al baño because it's a contraction of and el, ciudad. And the weird thing grammatically is you say para comer. It's like in order to, you say para first. It's like, so in English, I mean, like when we say romper, it means to break, and so it seems like you translated there to break for the English, but it's different meaning of two than like para, which is like for. So you actually, this looks wrong, but it's right. So it'd be like or to break. That's how you do it. Okay. So it's like in order to, not para before that. You're right, that means, didn't you?
Does this work? I feel like it doesn't.
Okay. There's the trabajar. That I want to work with to discuss. So this would be a Strata because it's the same like order. Then you have to do Strata, like in order to discuss. So it sounds redundant. In English, it'd be like saying like for to discuss. But yeah, there's a Strata that goes here. And with this, I would actually think that to something you don't know how to do yet, which is comprendendo. That's another form of audience. So comprender to buy. Oh, I'm sorry. You're totally right. I comprar to buy. Yeah. So you're trying to say buying. It's not buying. So I walked to the store with a woman to discuss.
I was going to say understand.
Oh,
Get
I'm sorry.
yarn
You
there.
understand? Yes.
And we're going to get the yarn. That's sort of makes it weird.
Yeah, you don't have to have all of them. So. Okay. I was just making more sense. All right, so let's share some before we run out of time. Sorry, I kept saying buying. I couldn't get that out of my head. Yeah, end of the day. Okay.
That's like the only song I know how to play.
Yeah, it's not too. It's an easy melody in some ways. Let's go from the back. So, Lucia, can you give me a sentence of yours? Okay.
Yo camino al cielo y compró caramelos para estoy muy triste con la vida.
That is long. Can anyone translate any part of that? Can you say it again? Slowly.
I went to the theater and buy candy because I'm very sad of my life.
That's great.
Oh, can I say mine before we get out of time?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Trabajas en el supermercado.
You work in a super monkey?
Yeah.
That works, sure.
What is this?
Maybe one more. While you guys are leaving. Zach Gonzalez.
Compra
What was the last word?
Obama.
So, are you saying like you buy Obama carefully or with
Obama.
Oh, Obama. I see. That'd be cool. All right, nice work, everyone.
That's wait.
I'll see you guys next week. Let me know if you have any questions during the week.
Honestly, I pay Obama to be my friend. And nice. That was kind of my fault.